Jay-Z's accuser can remain anonymous. The court is rolling with Tony Buzbee at this time. They said that Jay-Z, just like he said, he's a man from the projects that made it to the boardroom. All right? Not a man for the boardroom that made it to the projects. So he's using project tactics, which is to bust your gun and be aggressive. You know? So what it is, they done charged Jay-Z with this horrendous crime. He want his name cleared. He want his name cleared soon as possible. He's not taking no shorts, and he's demanding that Tony Buzbee be stopped. The court is not having it because they're not used to having those aggressive languages brought to them in court. Please, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. I'm asking you nicely. Don't worry about the Instagram. You can follow me there. It's on the screen. Don't worry about the Cash App. If you choose to send that, hit the icon. Make sure it say it was created in July 2020. But what I need now is free. Just subscribe, hit the notification bell, and hit all so you get all my notifications. Let's start this party up. All right? You know what it is, Unique Mecca Audio, man. Look at this beautiful picture with Jay-Z and Beyonce in Better Times. I think they was at a basketball game or something. But now they done accused Jay-Z of these horrendous crimes. We're going to speak on that. Jay-Z faces legal setback as his SA lawsuit moves forward. A New York judge denied his attempt to dismiss a lawsuit accusing him of SA and allowing the case to proceed. Now, the judge's ruling, I'm going to play this joint, let you hear that in a minute, but let me break this down. The judge's ruling, right? A U.S. District Judge, Annalisa Torres, said in her written order that the Alabama woman can proceed anonymously at this early stage at the litigation, but she may be required to reveal her identity at a later date if the case proceeds. Now, what's going on with that, right? Can we ride? Diddy's accusers had to identify themselves. You know, Jay-Z got accused of the same thing, of being Diddy's co-defendant, and Jay-Z went at it a different way than Diddy. Diddy tried to ignore it, to let it go away. Jay-Z said, I'm going to take this the same way I would anything that we dealing with because I'm from the projects, so I'm going to bust my gun. He busts his gun, and he goes right at Tony Buzbee. He calls him all kinds of names. I'm going to play a video in a minute, so sit back, look at the whole thing. I just want to run through this real quick so you understand. Now, they say that would allow defense lawyers, right, that if it moves forward, that they would allow the defense lawyers to collect facts necessary to prepare for the trial, right? Torres also cited substantial interest from the public, right? Substantial interest. That means that the public is interested and they have a right to know. Now, Jane Doe's statement. The plaintiff, identified as Jane Doe, claimed that Jay-Z and Diddy awed her back at the 2000 MTV Music Awards after party. They had many after parties, and if y'all been anywhere to any one of these celebrity events, you know that everyone has an after party, and at the after party, when you somebody like Jay-Z or Diddy, you got a whole bunch of women that you done laid up with. They all gonna be there. Your woman gonna be there. You know what I mean? And all these layups are gonna be there. But we're not talking about basketball. Ooh. You know what I mean? So now, all the layups is trying to come at you. Any chance they get, you peek them out the side of your eye, but at the same time, you got your woman with you. So now, when you see them looking and they're about to make their move to you, you play it off and you pivot away so that they don't confront you, because you know your woman is going to watch every move so she can see who your layups are. Either layups or jump offs, or whatever you want to call it. Now, so you don't have time to indulge in activities at the after party because you're too busy, entertaining, socializing, and ducking your woman with her eye on you. So that sounds a little crazy that they even chose the MTV after party because that's too much of a public event. Now, she said that the incident happened when she was 13. Now, that's horrendous. Jay-Z said, I don't want that on my name. I refuse to have that on my name. So we're going to get that off and we're going to check that right now. And he went right for Busby and went right to filing with the court using the legal procedures. The courts, they're not trying to have it because they're like, hold up, you're coming too hard at this lawyer for just defending a victim, an alleged victim, right? Jay-Z is like, no, this is a lie. I don't want to have it. Tony Buzbee, first he named Jay-Z in the suit, but he named him as celebrity number one. He didn't reveal his name. He figured if he contacted Jay-Z and he let Jay-Z know that, yo, I got you, we got you, got a witness saying this, got a witness saying that. We're going to bring you down whether you're guilty or not, whether you did it or not. This is going to hurt your character. So you need to come sit down with us and we can work out a settlement under the table and nobody will ever know this happened. Jay-Z said, screw you. That's how Jay-Z went out. Now, they didn't like that. So now him and Busby going back and forth, but Jay-Z started going to the court, filing a lot of aggressive motions. Now, let's talk about these filings. Jay-Z consistently denied the allegations, calling them an attempt at blackmail. However, the case continues to draw public attention, which is what Busby was counting on the whole time and also counting on Jay-Z surrendering. Now, in a court filing on Thursday, December 26, the U.S. District Judge Annalisa Torres strongly criticized Jay-Z's lawyer, Alex Spiro. She described his motions as relentless filing of combative motions containing inflammatory language and homage of attacks, meaning he just keep firing shots. Against the plaintiff, calm down, y'all, relax. Against the plaintiff's lawyer, calling them inappropriate, a waste of judicial resources, meaning a waste of our money for us to even look at this in the courtroom, and a tactic unlikely to benefit his client. So that was a subliminal way of Judge Annalise Torres telling Alex Spiro, chill out, you're not going to get nothing coming in my court trying to attack the victim's lawyer. Now, she also made it clear that the court would not fast track the case simply because Jay-Z's legal team demanded it. Now, this judge is not with Jay-Z. We can see that, right? Let's ride. This judge is not with Jay-Z. That statement alone says it all. She says that they're not going to fast track the case simply because Jay-Z's legal team demands it. Jay-Z's legal team is demanding a fast track. The motion was supposed to take 21 days for them to respond. That's how much time a judge normally have with those type of motions. Jay-Z's lawyer said, we asking you to expedite this. That means fast track it until 24 hours, 1 day to make a ruling. Now, the reason why he did that is because Jay-Z's saying, get me out of here. What is wrong with you? How you going to sit here and have my name attached to this for 21 days while you make a ruling? So I need a ruling now because I want my name cleared from having anything to do with a 13-year-old child and an R charge, period. The judge looked at it right there, and that is saying that it's what they want. Yeah, he wants his name cleared from this crap. Do you think he's wrong for wanting his name cleared from the crap? Asking them to fast track it instead of taking the normal 21 days to rule on it in 1 day. Well, the judge ruled on it in a day, and of course, this is what she said, right? So you understand. Now, she also made it clear that the court would not fast track the case, like I said, simply because Jay-Z's legal team demanded it. Torres, the judge, wrote in her order Thursday that Spiro, who has been on the case less than 3 weeks, has submitted a lot of letters and motions attempting to impugn the character of plaintiff lawyer Mr. Busby. many of them expounding on the purported urgency of the case. Yes, the urgency to clear his name, but the judge said you're not going to be filing letters and motions and keep contacting me, degrading this attorney's character just because he's representing a witness and you don't like the way it's playing out. Now, we got that straight, right? So then now, let's move down, right? So, Tony Buzbee, let's talk about Tony Buzbee. Tony Buzbee, in response to the ruling, Tony Buzbee, the plaintiff's attorney, told the CBS News in an email Thursday evening that he doesn't typically comment on court rulings, but alleged that the coordinated and desperate efforts to attack me as a counsel for alleged victims are falling flat. He's not going for it, you know. So now the accuser remains firm despite inconsistencies. Because you know, she said her father picked her up. Her father said, I don't know nothing about it. I ain't pick her up. And it was 5 hours away. So there's no way in heck she sat there distraught like that waiting for me for 5 hours when I got no knowledge of it. Then she also said that there was a rock star there, and at that time the rock star was all the way in Midwest performing, so that was the second discrepancy. Then she said that the house was right around the corner from Radio City. If you've been to New York, there ain't no mansion right around the corner in New York City. So that's 3. But the accuser remains firm despite the inconsistency. The case gained further attention earlier this month when Jane Doe gave an interview with NBC News. Now, she attempted to make she admitted to making some mistakes in recounting details from the alleged incident, which occurred 24 years ago. She's saying it's 24 years ago, you know, anything could have been the situation. I forgot little point details. Despite this, the Alabama woman remains steadfast in her accusations against both Jay-Z and Diddy. Pay attention. She's saying, regardless if I missed a little inconsistency here and there. We talking about 24 years ago, and I was 13, and I was traumatized, so therefore I made a couple of mistakes. Now, this is what she said, right? Now, she said, I'm scared of what could happen. She told NBC News, but I'm more afraid of letting it eat me alive from the inside out, so I have to get this out for my therapy. Torres, right, the judge, allowed the plaintiff in Jay-Z's case to remain anonymous for now, despite efforts by the rapper's legal team to, have her identity revealed. They say later on we might change our mind and let her reveal herself, like Diddy's, judge made his accuser, reveal themselves. Jay-Z's legal challenges are far from over. It just began. He came out with a fight and a bang. Let's not forget the bang. All right, so that's where it's at. Jay-Z's legal challenges, like I said, are far from over. CBS News has reached out to Carter's attorney for comment, and there was no response. Now that you got that, we're going to ride, and I'm going to play this video, and we're going to hear what Jesse Weber has to say. All right, let's get this party started, man.
Now, what has happened? Jay-Z has denied all of the allegations in this lawsuit, and Tony Buzbee has denied any allegation that he was trying to extort Jay-Z. He said all that he was trying to do, and what he was doing, is he was engaging in standard pre-litigation practice, where you send somebody a letter in an effort to resolve the situation, particularly through mediation.
See, what that really is, like I said, they named Jay-Z as celebrity one or celebrity two, whatever, celebrity something, right? Now they label him as the celebrity, but they didn't put his name in it. That's because Busby was thinking that Jay-Z was gonna cave, throw him a couple of million, and they was gonna move on to find another victim. I mean, another person. All right.
Busby, now we got to talk about him. He just filed, and this is what we're going to get into. He just filed a response that we have to talk about. And I got to give you some backstory on where this response is coming from. So the controversy here stems from this. The fact that Jane Doe, this anonymous accuser, sat down for an interview with NBC. Now remember, she claims at 13 years old, she got dropped off at Radio City Music Hall in New York City back in 2000 where the Video Music Awards were being held. She didn't have a ticket, so she wandered around outside, maybe hoping to see a celebrity or two. But who she saw instead was one of Sean Combs' bodyguards, who...
Let me ask you this. Could you really imagine a 13-year-old girl saying, I'm going to go see a celebrity? Okay, so what was in her mind, even at 13 or 33? What was in her mind that she's saying, I'm going to go find me a celebrity? Let's ride. You remember Monica Lewinsky and Bill Clinton? Monica Lewinsky said before she left her hometown out there in the West Coast, Midwest, or wherever she was at, she told her friends that she was going to Washington, D.C. to get her presidential knee pads. Do you know what presidential knee pads is? Put it in the comments what the presidential knee pads are. But bottom line is, you know what Monica Lewinsky's alleged motions was when she went to Washington, D.C. and gave allegedly well, he said it was, so I guess it ain't allegedly, gave ex-President Bill Clinton oral. And that's when they asked Bill Clinton, because we riding, they asked Bill Clinton, have you ever had sex with that woman? Bill Clinton said, no, I've never had sex with her. They said, oh, we got him on perjury. He lied because she gave him oral. And Bill Clinton said, look up the definition of oral. That's not sex. That's just oral. You know what I mean? But that's how they play these little games. Let's get back to this. But bottom line is, you know what Monica Lewinsky's motive was when she went to Washington, D.C., because she said she was going to get her presidential knee pads, which means to get on her knees and blow off the president. You know what I mean? And then now we have this young lady, 13, which is sad. What was her motive? I didn't hear them say she had a pad, a T-shirt, a CD that she wanted her signature on. All of this is, I mean, I gotta be inclined to, leave it up to you. Do y'all really believe this? Let's go.
Allegedly told her to come back later that night. He'd take her to a home where Combs was throwing an after party. And when Jane Doe gets to that party, she believes that the drink that she was given was laced with drugs because she started feeling woozy and disoriented. And she says when she went to find a room to lie down in, that was when she was assaulted by both Combs.
Okay, so listen, right? They said they gave her a drink. I'm not defending anything for you bastards. I can't stand you bastards. Get off my channel. And don't forget my motto. Don't even buy my book. Just exit the channel or sit there and don't touch nothing. You know what I mean? Don't say nothing, you rat bastard. Now, because I'm not defending, because that's what these rat bastards say. But let me ask you this, right? Do you think maybe, here it is, a 13-year-old child, her mind not fully developed, her body not fully developed, had a drink, and that drink may have made her feel woozy? Why did it have to be laced? Your mind can't handle it. When I was 13, right, let me ride. This is going to be a short ride. When I was 13, right, I went and I drunk some Thunderbird for the first time. When I drunk, yes, Thunderbird. When I drunk the Thunderbird, right, it tasted like Kool-Aid. So I bought a little pint, bought like 4 or 5 pints, me and my brother from the liquor store, right? And I downed it, and it tasted like Kool-Aid. So on the way to, the high school, party that they had that night with Act 2, big shout out to Tom Fisher and, Jeff Michael and, Charlie Rock, a.k.a. Charles Farrar. That was Act 2 that was running the scene out here in Jersey with the parties back then. When I went to the party, I was so twisted. Because my little body couldn't handle it. I was about 13, 14 years old. I couldn't handle it. Even though I did drink a few pints. But we talking about chapter. After the first one, I was already feeling dizzy, and I said, let me get another dizzy feeling. So that could be what that was about. Let's move on.
And Jay-Z. That's what she's alleging. And again, I should also tell you that Sean Combs has also denied these allegations as well. But when Jane Doe spoke with NBC News recently, she acknowledged that there are parts of her stories that, yes, they have some inconsistencies. Jane Doe was quoted as saying, I have made some mistakes, but she said she stands by her overall allegations and says, look, this happened 24 years ago. Of course, some details have been lost to time. But here are some of the issues. Jane Doe says that after the alleged rapes, she was able to run away from the home, find this gas station where she was allowed to use the phone. She said she had called her dad to come pick her up. Problem there is her father told NBC News he didn't remember that. And that if he had come to pick her up, it would have been a 5-hour drive. On top of that, he apparently told NBC News that he never even heard of this alleged attack on his daughter until the reporters came asking questions. Jane Doe also claimed that she spoke to or saw Benji Madden at this VMA's after party. He, of course, is the lead guitarist for the rock band Good Charlotte. His representatives, though, told NBC News that he was in the Midwest on tour at the time. So with that coming out, Alex Spiro, who's Jay-Z's high-powered attorney, sent a letter to the judge calling the allegations a sham. Quote, she claims the assault took place at an after party at Mr. Combs' home, but photos that night show Mr. Combs and Mr. Carter at Lotus nightclub for the after party. When pressed, the plaintiff admitted she was guessing about key details, including the time it took to reach the venue. She admits she has no single corroborating witness over the last 24 years. I talked about this before in a prior sidebar. It is possible, if you take her allegations as true, that Jay-Z and Sean Combs maybe went to a few places in that after party, so we don't know when this other after party where she claims she was assaulted took place. But again, this is problematic for her.
Listen, if Jay-Z and them ran around with a 13-year-old going to all these after parties, anybody that's seen them with this alleged 13-year-old should be charged and convicted and thrown under the jail as well. Do you agree with me or not? Put it in the comments.
Right? The fact that her father can't back it up, the fact that the Benji Madden incident, there was also an incident that she recalled a Jumbotron, but there's been evidence to suggest there wasn't a Jumbotron. So there's holes in this story. Now, NBC News, they did report that they tried to locate this friend who allegedly drove Jane Doe to the VMAs that night, but it appears that person has died. And they indicated that they tried to reach out to this person's relatives, but they didn't really have any luck. Now, Jay-Z reportedly told NBC, this incident didn't happen. And he says, look, but Tony Buzbee filed it in court anyway. He doubled down in the press, adding, true justice is coming. We fight from victory, not for victory. This was over before it began. This 1-800 lawyer doesn't realize it yet, but soon. Again, referencing Tony Buzbee. So Busby released a statement defending himself, saying, look, Jane Doe's case, it was referred to me by another firm. Her story had allegedly already been vetted. His statement read, our client remains fiercely adamant that what she has stated is true to the best of her memory. We will continue to vet her claims and collect corroborating data to the extent it exists because we have interrogated her intensely. She has even agreed to submit to a polygraph. I've never had a client suggest that before. And for her part, this unnamed Jane Doe said to NBC, you should always fight for what happened to you. You should always advocate for yourself and be a voice for yourself. You should never let what somebody else did ruin or run your life. I just hope I can give others the strength to come forward like I came forward. And before we again go into his latest response, I just have to give you one more piece of background information, because after all this happened, attorney Alex Spiro filed this emergency motion with the court. And he asked that either the case be thrown out completely or Jay-Z be dismissed from the suit. And he also said he wants to ensure that evidence be preserved in this case because he alleged that Busby may actually destroy evidence. So in a memorandum in support of this motion, it reads, this is again from Alex Spiro, Jay-Z's lawyer, the fundamental inconsistencies in plaintiff's case revealed in the NBC interview, coupled with Busby's chronic inability to follow the rules in this case and others, creates a substantial risk that Busby will destroy evidence damaging to plaintiff's case, including evidence of his own misconduct. The memo gives us a scathing summary of Busby's actions and how Spiro's firm believes that Busby has violated what's called Rule 11, that you act so badly in this case, you're a lawyer who acts so badly, you should be sanctioned, you should be punished by the court. I'll explain that in a minute, but what he writes is, rather than conducting his own due diligence to vet his client's claims, again referring to Jane Doe, Busby merely relied on the purported vetting of another firm, telling NBC Jane Doe's case was referred to our firm by another who vetted it prior to sending it to us. But no one from the other firm signed the pleadings in this case. Busby did. He goes on to say, under these circumstances, it must be assumed that Busby will go to extraordinary lengths to conceal his ethical violations. There is accordingly a significant risk that Busby will seek to destroy documents or other evidence that would demonstrate that he knew or should have known that the allegations in the complaint were false. Okay, so there you have it. That's the backstory. Now, as I mentioned, Busby has responded. So, in a letter to United States District Court Judge Annalisa Torres of the Southern District of New York, that is where this case was filed. Busby writes, as with defendant Carter's prior letters filed in this case, it is histrionic in tone but substantively groundless. Defendant Carter threatens plaintiff with a Rule 11 motion based on questions raised by one single television interview concerning events occurring 24 years ago when plaintiff was 13 years old. And he goes on to write, defendant Carter's threat of a Rule 11 motion is frivolous because it characterizes run-of-the-mill disputes of fact as proof that plaintiff's complaint is baseless. None of the factual issues Carter identifies are sufficient even to grant summary judgment in Carter's favor, much less support Rule 11 sanctions. The fact that the defendant or a potential witness doesn't agree with or recollect the facts alleged in the complaint does not and cannot give rise to a motion for sanctions for filing a baseless complaint. Defendant Carter's threat of an immediate sanctions motion on the first whisper of factual uncertainty is just one more instance of bullying intended to have a chilling effect on plaintiff's counsel, and any potential plaintiffs watching these proceedings. That refers to, of course, any other potential Jay-Z or Shawn Combs accusers. So let me break this down for you real quick. First, for a court to grant sanctions under Rule 11, usually monetary punishment, in a case like that, it is not common, okay? It is rare for a court to do that. You have to be talking about egregious bad behavior. Rule 11 is about a lawyer making false representations to the court, filing a lawsuit for an improper purpose, like merely just to harass someone, that a lawyer is asserting claims or defenses that are not backed up by the facts, the law, or evidence currently known or likely to be known. That is what we're talking about. And here, Busby is like, what are we saying? We're saying that Jane Doe's claims are just absolutely fake because Jay-Z said this didn't happen, or her father says he doesn't remember this, or a celebrity wasn't there. Look, she is recounting something from 24 years ago when she was a young girl. And also, I think he would argue, in any case, there's going to be conflicting witnesses about what did or didn't happen. These are why he says run-of-the-mill disputes. That can't be proof that her claims have no evidentiary support. And when he mentions summary judgment and how Jay-Z is not entitled to summary judgment is when a party asks the court to step in, just decide this case in their favor before there's even a trial. You're basically saying there is nothing for a jury to decide here. The argument from Jay-Z would be there's no way a jury can look at this and find in favor of Jane Doe. We call it under the law no genuine issue of material fact. Busby says just because there's a dispute here doesn't mean this didn't happen, doesn't mean he can't prove it, doesn't mean this shouldn't go to a jury. And he also explains there could be an issue with recollection here, that it's understandable because think about what she's alleging. She says she was raped at 13 years old. Of course that affects recollection, but it doesn't mean her claims aren't true. Busby writes, a Rule 11 motion is frivolous on the additional ground that expecting a victim of sexual assault over 2 decades ago, when that victim was a minor and, as her interview revealed, also autistic, to have perfect recall of all facts is outrageous. Defendant Carter twists plaintiff's words when he accuses her, for instance, of guessing at the timing of events alleged in the complaint, such as the length of car rides. But New York courts have expressly acknowledged that plaintiffs in this type of case cannot be expected to have exacting recall and command of all relevant facts. And then he cites a New York case from 2021 that held, we recognize that in matters of sexual abuse involving minors, as recounted by survivors years after the fact, dates and times are sometimes approximate and incapable of calendrical exactitude, and approving allegations spanning a 4-year window of time in which the abuse could have occurred. Busby also cites a second issue with this Rule 11 motion, the timing. He writes, Defendant Carter also asked this court to alter the federal rules of civil procedure in his favor by abrogating the mandatory 21-day Rule 11 safe harbor period without any legal support or factual justification whatsoever. So a quick primer here. Under the federal rules, a motion for sanctions, quote, must not be filed or be presented to the court if the challenged paper, claim, defense, contention, or denial is withdrawn or appropriately corrected within 21 days after service or within another time the court sets. So the reason we have that is because you want to give a party, a plaintiff or a defendant, and their lawyers some time to review the objections from the other side and figure out if they need to amend or withdraw something. They should be allowed some time to fix this. And Busby says Jay-Z is asking the court to shorten that time period from 21 days to 1 day. And he argues Jay-Z has not provided any support for why he should be entitled to this. And Busby also argues that this motion from Jay-Z and other legal steps Jay-Z and his attorneys have taken, such as requiring that the issue of whether Jane Doe should have to reveal her identity, that it needs to be resolved now at this part, at the start of this case, all of this, Busby says, is crossing the line into bad faith. And from there, Busby goes more on the attack. He writes, moreover, outside of the courtroom, Mr. Carter has employed tactics of intimidation and harassment, even more extreme, tortious, and quite possibly illegal. My firm recently filed a lawsuit in Harris County, Texas, that details how Mr. Carter's company, Rock Nation, and his counsel have bribed my clients to file lawsuits against my firm, threatened former clients, impersonated state officials, and engaged in other behavior far beyond the pale of acceptable conduct. Their tactics won't work, and they will be addressed in more detail in connection with the plaintiff's briefing on plaintiff's anonymity. So they haven't decided that issue about whether or not Jane Doe will have to remain anonymous. That's going to be continued to be argued. But what he's alleging here, and what this is in relation to, is something that we talked about on a previous sidebar. How Busby's firm did file a lawsuit claiming that Rock Nation paid people to impersonate officials, use fake badges, offer money to people who agreed, essentially the argument is, to file lawsuits against Busby's law firm. For example, the lawsuit states one such target of defendant's solicitation was plaintiff Gerardo Garcia. He was injured in a Jones Act lawsuit and hired the Busby law firm to represent him. His case was settled in 2020. He was happy with the resolution of his case and had no complaints with the Busby law firm. Nearly 5 years later, after his case had been resolved, not seeking to hire a lawyer or file a lawsuit, Mr. Garcia was contacted out of the blue by 2 investigators. This contact was an illegal solicitation and was made on behalf of and as part of a conspiracy involving defendants. According to Garcia, 2 investigators came to his home and flashed some sort of badge at him, stating that they were from the state. They asked him about his 2020 settlement, wanting to know if he was happy with the result and asking to see the paperwork. They allegedly said they could get him in touch with a private lawyer who could sue the Busby firm and get him a lot of money. So again, that's what he's referencing in his letter. And going
let me break that down so y'all understand that, because this is looking crazy. Okay, what they're saying is that Jay-Z attorneys went and got private investigators to go dig up prior Tony Buzbee cases and to see what the settlements was. Now, to show that Tony Buzbee was robbing the clients, allegedly, what they did was they sent out private investigators to ask the clients of past clients of Tony Buzbee if they could look over the paperwork to make sure that they was rightfully compensated, and if they wasn't rightfully compensated, that they could get them attorney to get them what they rightfully should have been compensated that Tony Buzbee may have jacked them out of. You know? Do you think that's illegal? Someone put in the comments before. Or do you think that was unethical? If you think it was illegal or unethical, please put it in the comments. Let's have a legal debate about this and be respectful as possible in the comments. So what that means is no rat bastards.
Back to this letter from Tony Buzbee. He writes the court, like Mr. Combs, Mr. Carter is rich, famous, and powerful. Mr. Carter will exert all the pressure he can to intimidate and harass plaintiff, me, or anyone else. The chilling effect of these efforts is substantial, as is the potential chilling effect of a Rule 11 motion being brought in these circumstances. And finally, he also addresses in this letter one more thing. He addresses Jay-Z's legal team's claim that Tony Buzbee is not licensed to practice law in this New York court, and that he never sought admission, and that he neither sought admission to practice on a temporary basis for the case. We call that pro hoc vice. And they say, despite that, Tony Buzbee has been signing papers in this case nonetheless. Well, Busby has a response to that. He writes in this letter that Jay-Z's December 13th letter includes a substantial amount of defamatory suggestions about me, including that I am somehow attempting to circumvent the authority of this court to enforce Rule 11 against me. That is nonsense. I am a member of the State Bar of New York and am admitted to the Eastern District of New York. I intend to apply for reciprocal admission to the Southern District. The fact that I have signed pleadings and letters filed in this court does not reflect any attempt by me to evade responsibility for anything. To the contrary, I have signed those pleadings and papers because I am lead counsel in this and other similar cases pending in this district.
All right, all right. Let me break that down, Rob. Because I had the same situations. Because we gonna ride. Okay. Pro havoc is for when you have an attorney that's not licensed in that state. That means you have to get an attorney that is licensed in that state for them to put their name on the motion because they have jurisdiction to argue legal matters in that state. So Jay-Z is saying that Tony Buzbee was not licensed to be dealing in the Southern District of California of New York, but Tony Buzbee or the Eastern District. But Tony Buzbee is saying that he is licensed in New York in general. Do y'all understand what pro havoc is now? You see how I break all this down? You know?
Now, here, look, in the end, this is my analysis. I think that a Rule 11 sanctions is probably premature, right? I think there is a strong possibility that the judge will not impose sanctions at this stage of the litigation unless there's more definitive proof that Busby knew Jane Doe's claims were all false and that they are false and that he just filed it anyway. I think there needs to be a bit more explored here. I think there's an argument to be made that, look, I mean, of course, there's a difference between what a plaintiff and a defendant say happened, and of course, there's going to be competing witnesses, but again, let's see where that goes. Now, before we go, one more thing I have to mention. Before Shawn Carter, Jay-Z, was named as a defendant by name in this Jane Doe lawsuit, he apparently filed an anonymous lawsuit against Tony Buzbee, again, claiming he extorted him.
So in other words, Jay-Z was hiding. I'm just keeping it 100 because we don't pick sides here for you rat bastards. Jay-Z was hiding who he was when he filed this motion to the court against Mr. Busby. All right.
But now it is being reported by outlets such as Rolling Stone and People that he has added a defamation claim in his legal action against this Texas lawyer. Defamation is a false statement published to a third party, and since you're dealing with a public figure, you have to prove actual malice, that you knew this statement was false when you made it, or you acted with reckless disregard for the truth when you made it. You didn't even do the proper due diligence. And here it's about the fact that Busby, Jay-Z claims, held a press conference months ago announcing that he would be filing a multitude of lawsuits against Sean Combs and that he would be naming names. And then what does he end up doing? He names Jay-Z as really the first high-profile alleged accomplice to Sean Combs, who, as we know, is currently facing federal sex crimes charges. So Jay-Z's complaint, filed in LA, reportedly states, beginning in October 2024, Busby spoke on any news platform that would have him, threatening that his firm had a long list of names of people in the entertainment industry who he accused of terrible conduct and who should be prosecuted and put underneath the jail. And the complaint further states, and Busby then gleefully announced to the world that one name on his long list was Mr. Carter, claiming that he engaged in criminal sexual assault. Now, Busby denied the defamation claims, replying via press statement, "The new claim is patently frivolous and will be dismissed. I've never said a word about him. This is just another attempt to bully and intimidate me. It just won't work." Now, so in my opinion, I think that this defamation claim might be tricky to win because usually parties are protected from being sued for defamation when they file lawsuits and they file legal claims against each other. Every lawsuit is an accusation that the other side will deny. You can't just say, oh, well, everybody can sue for defamation, otherwise you really wouldn't have lawsuits. People can't just turn around and automatically be able to sue for defamation because, again, that would chill lawsuits from coming forward. But if there were statements made in public, that's a different story. Now, Busby may say, I never mentioned Jay-Z by name in any of my prior comments before filing this Jane Doe lawsuit. The counterargument to that would be, well, now we know who you were talking about. It's like in the Johnny Depp case, right? He wasn't named specifically in that Washington Post op-ed piece about domestic violence that was penned by his ex Amber Heard, but the jury said in that trial, those statements were clearly about him and they were defamatory. So let's see how all this shakes out. I am sure there will be a lot more ahead.
All right, so that's where we at. So now I got to give you this real quick, man. we're going to keep it going. And we over here, the same way we came in, we bringing you breaking news. What do you think about this commentary? What do you think about Jay-Z? Do you think they're going to bring more lawsuits against him dealing with this? Or do you think they're going to bring criminal charges? Remember, I told Jay-Z, be careful what you ask for when you're dealing with these people, because Jay-Z said in his first response that if this happened, it's so despicable, you shouldn't be trying to get compensation. You should be taking this to a criminal court of law. Be careful, Jay-Z. They might be taking it to a criminal court of law. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. Please subscribe and hit the notification bell. And go to Mecca Audio TV and Unique Mecca Audio Prison Stories. All right?
Cheers, cheers, toast the crime, toast the crime, the crime, the crime, the crime.
Fresh out the can of 26, he back on the strip, get it back in the mix. What he mentions a gift. You stand up 10 toes down, and I suggest you pay attention to this. Take a little gully posse and put it in hall. He cut from the bottom, came up from the bottom. Drop the book, you should go and get it. An Instagram page and a YouTube, you could go and visit. Then you can consider yourself LinkedIn. Sit front row and get Jews from a kingpin. How he went through it, so you ain't gotta go do it. Did not pay attention would be stupid. Talking about a man that probably put your grandfather on. Probably the reason that him and your grams got along. A man that generated millions on the block, did his time, never squilling to the cops, Mecca Audio.